Hello, people. Welcome back to Wigan Weekly, your go-to podcast for all things Wigan Latics. As always, I'm Charlie.
And I'm Curtis, and today we've got a packed episode, a couple of home games to talk about, huge managerial news, and a look ahead to our upcoming fixtures. Yeah,
it's been a very chaotic weekend, so let's get stuck in.
Yeah, so first up, let's talk about the Huddersfield game on Tuesday. It was quite a surprising one, really, wasn't it?
I think arguably the best first half of the season, to be honest.
Yep, I'll second that. Goals from Dale Taylor and Owen Dale, enough to, decide the game in the first half. It was good enough for me. I mean, that was our fifth home win all season, and I think it was a long time coming, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. I mean, something I will say is that, you said it was done at half time. I'm not going to lie, I was a bit on the edge second half. I think we went very good second half.
No, I do think we sat back in the second half, and I probably should have clarified it a bit better. I mean, I'm just saying that what we did in the first half was enough to decide the game, fortunately. But I mean, just like any other game this season, for example, like Shrewsbury game, it could have quite easily gone that way if we weren't sort of careful.
I mean, what I will say is, though, is that surprisingly, Huddersfield had more possession, more shots, more passes, but yet we still got the job done somehow.
Well, that's it. You can have as much of the ball as you want, but it's about what you can actually do with it.
Yeah, and that really is the way, I suppose, that we get a bit lucky at times with that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the result, obviously, a big result of confidence, beating a team who are obviously in the playoff race, and it was their second defeat in a row for Huddersfield. Obviously, they'd lost to Peterborough that previous weekend, so you've got to be happy with the result.
Yeah, I would certainly take getting 3 points against a playoff contender.
A question for you, Curtis. Do you think Huddersfield team, starting 11 was the best starting 11 at the moment we've got to our use?
I think, yeah, because obviously we took that same sort of lineup into Saturday. I think that the current starting 11 we've got is probably the best we can do at the minute with, injuries and stuff like that, which we've got more to say about that later, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. So on that note, I think we'll quickly move on to the Reading game on Saturday, which, I'm not going to lie, it was a crucial match, and I suppose we needed, well, not needed, but we definitely could have done with getting back-to-back results. But did it go that way? No. Ended up getting beat 2-1. What was your thoughts, Kurt, on the performance?
I think really it just summed up our season. There's been numerous home games this season where we've gone to games, took a lead for a very short amount of time for it to then be turned around by the other team. And obviously what the board will probably tell you is that it's not good enough. But I just think with the resources that we've got, it's not really surprising.
Yeah, definitely. But, I'm not going to lie, after the first 15, 20 minutes, we weren't too bad, but I think it quickly became apparent that Reading were better going forward. We got forward with ease, but we just wasted our chances. It was quite annoying, quite infuriating. The same with the stand, the groans, the whining about getting the ball forward. It's very annoying, wasn't it?
It certainly was, and this is the thing. I think they need to start going forward a bit more because there's an awful lot of back passing that you've seen this season. And like you say, they don't take their chances, What's the worst that can happen if you take your chance? Yeah, you might not score, but, if the fans are seeing that you're trying, I think they'd be more appreciative.
Definitely. I'll second that. Is everything you want to add to the Reading reaction, or are you happy to move on?
I'm happy to move on. I think it sums up our season, and Maloney says this every time we seem to lose. It sums up what's going on and off the pitch, but nothing else to really say about that game.
In fact, one thing actually I will just add that quick actually was obviously a surprise goal scorer in Jason Kerr, his first goal for a while. Nice seeing the captain get his goal. I wouldn't say he's been out of form, but he's not been in form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a good thing to see someone else on the score sheet for once. I won't lie.
Instead of Dale Taylor, running right. So, we're going. So, this is probably the craziest thing to happen this season in terms of I've genuinely I thought that Asgard going was the biggest thing, but this genuinely shocked me reading it. Shaun Maloney was sacked Sunday morning. I think it was about 10 a.m.-ish. What was your initial reaction, Kurt, to Maloney getting sacked?
Well, the thing is, I've always sort of been sat on the fence with it, like the board would say, not good enough, because obviously the board didn't think that we've performed to their expectations this season. But then again, I would turn around and say, well, Maloney's had, the injury crisis. He's not been properly backed by them in some aspects. Obviously, he's been constrained to a tight budget. But then again, some will turn around and tell you it's football, it's a results business. Unfortunately, if you can't get the best out of your players, then they're going to want change. So I've always been sort of sat on the fence with it. And I also do think, why did we do it this far into the season? Because, we've got about 13 games left. We're not playing for anything, but, we're not exactly safe. We need to get a couple more wins in to secure our safety for this season. And I just think it was bizarre to get rid of him this far in. However, some would then turn around and say, but if we get a new manager in before the end of the season, it gives him time to assess the situation. So, I think it's a shame considering he's a legend, a Wigan legend, but, it was probably going to happen sooner or later because with one win in the last 7, it's not great.
I do, and I think the argument I make is that obviously Maloney, I'm not, like you say, he's a club legend. I think the majority of the fans want him to succeed and, get us back to where we belong, but it's not turned out that way. But I do personally think we should have at least given him to the end of the season. At the end of the day, I don't think we were ever going to go down this season. I think we're going to survive regardless of what happens now. But Maloney, for me, I feel like we were sort of guaranteed still with him. I think if we get a new manager, we don't know what's going to happen because you've got to assess the team. You've got to find a system that suits you. A lot's going to change. So I think with Maloney, it is the wrong decision for me, but I'm sure time will tell if it is the right decision or not.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think, he deserves the best. I mean, considering what he's done for us with the situation, you've had the likes of ex-players coming out on social media, the likes of Stephen Humphries, who came out with a tweet yesterday, and he said, quote unquote, if I can get it to load, he said, it's a bit further up. It's annoying trying to find this on the timeline. Right, here's what he said. A legend of the club, thank you for everything you did for me and my teammates under impossible circumstances. You won't find another manager who cares about Wigan Athletic more than Shaun Maloney, which I totally agree with.
I think to some extent I agree with that, but I do think there's many, but there's many passionate ex-players who I think if you put them in charge, definitely have the same sort of interaction with players and fans.
Yeah, you could make that argument. I think that's fair enough, but we'll just have to see in the future if anyone else does do that.
Yeah, I will give you that.
But I mean, I've heard as well that Shaun Maloney, in our sort of, financial times, he apparently went to Danson with a plan for a sustainable sort of way to run the club to convince him to buy it. So if he did do that, I mean, I proper take my hat off to Maloney because we wouldn't be where we are today without that.
Yeah, we wouldn't be, I don't think. And I also think that, I mean, like you say, he went to Danson, he tried to get a plan sorted, and I mean, whether Danson sort of stuck to that or not, we don't know, or whether he's agreed with it. But at least he's tried. I think he did all he could with him, to be honest. With like you say, limited resources, a limited budget, a lot of young players. I think he did a good job, to be honest, this season.
Yeah, and the one last thing as well was it James McLean come out with that one-liner that's been all over social media about champagne lifestyle on a lemonade budget, which some would say sums it up. And
I think to an extent, yeah.
What?
I think to an extent it does, yeah.
Yeah, and then the likes of Sam Tickle liking it. It's not really a good look for the ownership, is it?
No, not at all. It's pretty interesting and it's quite shocking, let's be honest. It's not good for the club's image. It's certainly going to give us a bit of a bad patch, this, but, it's what it is, really.
Yeah, certainly.
The question I would ask you is: do you think Maloney had any idea this would happen? Because when we watched him celebrate on Tuesday against Huddersfield, he seemed happy and overjoyed. So I don't think I think it has come as a surprise to him, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was a surprise because, like you said about the Huddersfield game the other day, and on the website it said about the fans forum in a couple of weeks' time with Shaun Maloney, because that was literally mentioned in the web page. So it's going to be interesting over these next couple of weeks to see what happens in terms of that, whether they get a new manager in, and if the new manager goes to that meeting, whatever it is.
Yeah, it will be. I think we should move on because I do think that this is, again, a topic we could spend a long time speaking on, but I think there is something I'm going to go on to which is very interesting, and that is, who do you think could be the next manager to succeed Shaun Maloney? Now, what I will say is, for the time being, it is Glenn Whelan, is interim manager. His first game is tomorrow night against Mansfield Town. And what I would say is, obviously, if Glenn Whelan, I think they'll give Glenn Whelan. Obviously, at the current time of recording, they're going to be, there's people applying, there's managers applying, they're doing interviews, they're working out a plan. But if Glenn Whelan can, let's say in 2 or 3 games, get some points, you never know. We could maybe go for the option of hiring him an opponent. You never know until the end of the season, maybe.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting one. There is a good couple of options out there, so the board can have a decent pick.
So obviously, I think I did the post on Twitter. Now, the first choice, I think, was it Ryan Lowe, I said, who I do think in real life is also the current number 1 to succeed in terms of odds.
Yeah, I believe on betting sites he's certainly up there.
So who was the 4? So it was Ryan Lowe. I think Paul Warren was on there. Gerard. Can't remember. Oh yeah, and Liam Richardson. So in terms of, do you want to add anything to that, Kurt? Yeah, for me to go on.
You can carry on, yeah.
Okay, so what's his name? I forgot his name now. With Ryan Lowe, I think that very good experience for his time with both Plymouth and Preston. He got Plymouth their best finish in 10 years in Championship. Was it 23-24? Wasn't it? They got, was it 10th they finished, Curtis? Yeah.
Preston, yeah, they finished 10th, which was obviously is their 3rd best finish since they've come back up from League One 10 years ago. So certainly up there.
And obviously he made an impression with getting Plymouth promoted to League One, and then that's when Preston were like, well, you know what, we'll give this man a chance. And he did a good job, Preston. When I say that he did a great job, no, but he certainly did a few things that got him in the limelight. I think tactically, he's a manager that sort of likes to, attack, possession-based football. His preferred formations are both 3-5-2 and 3-4-1-2. Now, the 2 formations that we've not really used that much recently, we did use 3 at the back and 5 at the back a bit under Maloney, so we got a lot of experience. And obviously, Ryan Lowe does have a very different approach to football than I think Maloney does. Overall, he's a manager who has been linked to a return to the EFL. And I think a lot of fans, even before Maloney went, said that if Maloney does go, they would love to see him replace him. Obviously, like I say, betting sites and the odds are really in his favour. So, what do you think, Kes? Do you think Ryan Lowe would be a good replacement?
Personally, I think he'd certainly be up there because, like you say, he did all right for Preston last season. Yes, Preston didn't win their last 5 league games when he was there, but at the beginning of the season, he did have them at the top of the table for about 3 weeks because there was about 3 games where they were sat first in the Championship. So he's certainly got an all right sort of stance with the Championship. So if he came back down to League One, I think he'd do all right, especially when you said about what he did for Plymouth, getting them out of League Two and whatnot. So I think it's worth a chance.
Yeah, okay. Second, I've gone for Liam Richardson, who I'm pretty sure is... Well, I don't know about being considered, but I do think Liam Richardson's a fair shout, really. I think, obviously, a brief stint at Accrington. Then he was appointed. Obviously, he was part of Paul Cook's team, backroom staff when Paul Cook was in charge, and then when Paul Cook resigned even in July 2020, so he took over Liam Richardson. The first season was difficult. We just survived relegation, but then the summer came. He rebuilt, and then obviously when we went on to win the league in 2021-22, and then that was obviously a big year. We got back to the Championship. Obviously, that's when the struggles came. He was sacked by November, and then obviously it was Torre, and then Maloney took over. So Liam Richardson is still a fairly recent manager of the clubs. However, I think with him, he's a manager that I do think deserves a second chance at Wigan, because I think he had a brilliant 2021-22 campaign, and obviously it was just a shame that we couldn't quite survive the Championship, which has been the trend for a long time now. But I do think Liam Richardson just deserves a chance. In terms of style of play, he's pragmatic, he's well organised, he's resilient, his preferred formation varies between 4-2-3-1 or 3-4-2-1. 4-2-3-1 formation we use a lot at the moment. It was Maloney's main formation, most commonly used. 3-4-2-1 also a formation that Maloney used a little bit. So you could say there's a couple of similarities there. What do you think on Liam Richardson, Curse?
I think like you say, if he's proven what he can do in League One with us a couple of seasons ago, which is great. Yeah, don't get me wrong. If the board are looking for progression, then they certainly need to get a manager who's got that experience under his belt in terms of getting the promotions. But then again, like you say, if the club want to keep being ambitious and stay in the Championship, then if you're going to get him in, he needs to sort of have a different sort of tactical style by the looks of it if he wants to actually survive rather than getting fired. Because if we're going to get a manager in now, we don't want to have them in for, like one season to get us up and then we go back down again, because it's just not the way we want to go. They want to be sustainable, so we want to try and follow along with that and stay up and then eventually go up again with any luck. But it's easier said than done, and I think the decision for this altogether shouldn't be taken lightly. But yeah, if he's not as proven in the Championship, I'd be a bit more hesitant.
I must say, and good words there, Kurt. I do appreciate what you said there, actually. I think you've gone into a detail about the whole thing with Lee Richardson. So yeah, I do agree with you on that front. The third manager I went with was Paul Warne. Now, I went for him predominantly because he's proven time and time again. He proved time and time again with Rotherham and with Derby that he can win League One with ease. To be honest, I mean, he's won. I think he's won two. He won two League One. Right, he finished first twice with Rotherham, and then once with Derby, which was last season actually. And then also he won the EFL Trophy in 21-22 with Rotherham again. I think Paul Warne playing style is sort of it's high intensity based, hard working, and a direct style of football. His preferred formations vary between 3-5-2 and 4-3-3, so quite a big difference to what we're used to there. However, like I say, I think his achievements with both Rotherham and Derby really, I think, put me in line there. And for me, Paul Warne should be top of the list for me, because I think that, unlike Ryan Lowe has not won many titles. Now, I know that, he has had good experience with Plymouth Preston, but Paul Warne has improved, and he's proved it with a team like Rotherham. For me, I mean, Rotherham aren't exactly a great team, but I'd say that Rotherham have been they've been like ourselves in terms of being that sort of being labelled as a yo-yo club. So I think that Paul Warne has proven with limited budget, with limited team experience, he can get a good job done. So I think he would arguably be the best option for me. I know you're not too familiar with Kurt, but what do you think about Paul Warne?
Well, like you say, if he's got that experience with League One, getting multiple different teams up there, once again, I'd be willing to give him a chance. It can't really get much worse. Some people would say, but then again, it probably could. The grass isn't always greener, but maybe we do need to try different tactics, different lineups, different formations. So I'd be open to anything at this point, really, as long as we're not going to go down.
Yeah, definitely. And then finally, in terms of my use, I put Steven Gerrard. And Steven Gerrard, I know that is a very big statement. However, I know that obviously his last club was Athletic. He's been in Saudi Arabia living a very luxurious life on a very healthy wage. Well, not healthy, but a very comfortable wage. Living the 5-star life. However, Carlisle were linked to him. Obviously, when they sacked Mike Williamson, they've obviously gone for Mark Hughes now. However, though, he was in the running at one point, and obviously someone commented that the wage he was on, Wigan couldn't afford that. But if he was in the running at Carlisle, surely there's something there. So I've gone for Gerrard because I think particularly because I just think that he was a bit. I think he deserves a bit of a redemption arc. He struggled with Aston Villa in the Premier League, hasn't really redeemed himself since. So I think maybe going down a few leagues in England might be the way to go for him. His team managed so far. He was at Liverpool under 18s for a brief period of time. He was at Rangers, where obviously he won the Scottish League. He joined Aston Villa. He didn't do a great job at Villa. He was a bit. I don't know the best word, but he was a bit inconsistent at Aston Villa. I mean, Alex Ibaki, well, obviously he left by mutual consent in January. His style of play is high intensity, possession based approach. His preferred formations alternate between 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. Again, a formation we used to before 4-2-3-1. 4-3-3 is a bit different, but we'll certainly get into it. He has got a few good achievements. I do think he's in the shout. Do you think it's realistic, Kurt, Steven Gerrard being on the shortlist?
Well, I could sort of see the arguments for and against it. Like you say, if he's been to clubs in different countries and had more comfortable wages, then he might not want to come down to our club with more constraints in terms of his wage and what players he can bring in. But in terms of you saying about him wanting a redemption arc, I can certainly get what you're saying. If he wants to try and redeem himself a bit, then maybe this is a good chance to try and do so. I would agree with you on that front. But yeah, I mean, I know there was rumours about him going to Carlisle, but anyone can be put to a name of a club and it not happen. You just got to take it with a pinch of salt unless it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Now, also, someone I did see was on Twitter an account, I think it was called Tixmon. He or she, they put that they listed 4 managers and put all 4 being considered. I can only assume that they've got something to do with the club. The 4 managers were Wayne Rooney, Ryan Lowe, Luke Williams, and Paul Cook. Now, I mean, what do you think, Kurt? Now, I'll just say names, Jim. I mean, what's your initial reaction? So, Wayne Rooney, what's your initial reaction to him?
Well, he's not exactly popular amongst the Plymouth fans, so I don't know what our fan base would think if he came in. Yeah,
I can agree with that. I think with Plymouth and also with who was he with? He was with Derby for a bit. He was also with he was with Birmingham season before last, and some would argue that he's the reason that Birmingham got relegated. And I think I mean, looking at Plymouth, they're going down quite a similar route. So I think, but then again, though, you say that. I mean, obviously that was in the Championship. Maybe he would be good in League One. It's a step down of the Championship.
Yeah, obviously you are right in saying that the Championship and League One are 2 different leagues, but if he's having, he's not having success at multiple clubs, then I wouldn't really necessarily put it down to league all the time. If he'd have more resources there than what he would with us, so realistically there'd be more of an expectation to perform.
Yeah, I'll give you that. The next name was Ryan Lowe. We've been through Ryan Lowe. The next one was Luke Williams, who obviously has, I say decent experience. I mean, most recently was manager of Swansea, and fair to say that he's not gone down very well with fans. Obviously, his managerial career so far has been Swindon. He was there for 2 years, and then he was sacked in 2017, and then he was vacant as manager for about 4 years before getting hired in Notts County. 2 years there, and then joined Swansea for the beginning of this season. And he was sacked. Well, he's about 58 games, won 19, drawn 11, lost 28. Pretty bad record, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
That was from January 2024 to February 2025, so just over a year. He's got a 32% win rate with Swansea. Not ideal, not really the man I think to succeed. In terms of his playing style, it looks like he goes for a sort of high intensity attacking football. Again, something we sort of know. He builds from the back, he presses high, he attacks fluidly, and then fast transitions. It's not something I'm against. However, I just don't think that his CV is anything to write home about, really. Do you agree with that case?
Do I agree with which? Sorry.
Luke Williams. I mean, about Luke Williams not being the man for the job.
Yeah, I would certainly say that, with the stats you gave me about him at Swansea, if it's only a 30-odd% win ratio, that's probably not too dissimilar to Maloney. So, we don't really want to be going backwards by.
Yeah, definitely. The final name is Paul Cook. Now, I know that Freddie said this in a laugh, but it actually could happen this, and I was a bit more looking into it. I do think it could happen. But then again, though, I mean, he's currently in a decent position with Chesterfield. Fans clearly like him. He's taken them from a non-league back into the EFL. Obviously, his preferred style of play, from his time at Wigan, was 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, which does suit us, obviously. I mean, I'm not sure what I think about it with Paul Cook. What do you think? Could you see Paul Cook return to Wigan?
It's a really interesting one because I mean, some would say unfinished business or whatever, but I think at the end of the day, I think we probably ought to get someone new on the job. I mean, some would argue that if we bring someone else back in, they've got the history with the club, they know what's going on, but sometimes it's better to just sort of go after someone else. But with Paul Cook being with us for about 3 years, he obviously didn't do too bad in that to be there for that long. So I'd sway to giving him another chance, maybe.
Okay, I can definitely understand that. The final one I want to go with dead quick was also apparently George Boateng, who I do not know much about. I think he was recently Coventry's first team head coach, so not manager, but assistant manager. But he has applied for the vacant managerial at Wigan. He was also running for the Blackburn job, which obviously went to Ismail in the end. What do you think? He's very inexperienced, not much known about his style of play. What do you think on him? I'm not a fan, to be honest.
No, I'd have to back you up on that one because if he's never really been in a managerial role before, it's quite risky giving the manager's job to someone who's never done it before. It could go horribly wrong, and then if it did go horribly wrong, everyone would pretty much be calling for Maloney back at that point. I know you've got to get experience from somewhere, but with the position we're in, we're not exactly safe. We can't really be messing around. We've got to, play it safe, go for someone who's got proven experience, really, especially, like I say, for the end of this season. If we weren't in, a relegation sort of proximity, then maybe circumstances would be different, but this time round, I'm not too sure. I mean, yeah, he'd be all right because he probably wouldn't demand loads of wages if he's inexperienced, but yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, okay. And then the final couple, actually, was Gary Colwell's linked. Obviously, former player and the manager. He was manager in 2015-16. He got us back up to the Championship and it was obviously sacked after struggling. He's currently at Exeter, and I can't really see them getting rid of him. Obviously, I think they would definitely require a hefty amount to get him out of this contract and join Wigan. And then also Leighton Baines, who, to be quite honest, I think Leighton Baines is a very good shout. Now, he's not huge experience. Obviously, he's currently manager of Everton's under-18 squad. He recently managed a game for them. I think it was Peterborough in the FA Cup third round. in which they won 2-0 thanks to a better goal and an eliminating DI penalty. I think with Leighton Baines, he's an ex-player, and I think he could do a job to be honest. I don't really need experience. I think he deserves a shout, maybe. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, you say about him managing under 18s, but League One is you can't really take it lightly, But I mean, like you say, ex-player, he's got a bit of history here. Yeah, it wouldn't be the worst thing ever to see him come back. Not when we compare it to other people on the list.
It wouldn't be, but I think in terms of managers, that's probably about it. To be honest, anymore we can really go over that. I mean, at least there's no more elite.
No, but in the next couple of days, we'll probably see another good half a dozen come out.
I'm looking now. Well, in fact, one thing I'm reading here actually is that apparently Ryan Lowe was a regular visitor to Euxton during Paul Cook's reign. Also, he's a former teammate of Gregor Riek. So there's links. There certainly is links. So you never know. It could happen.
Yeah, with stuff like that, it's not. They say it's not what you know, it's who you know. But yeah, it's certainly going to pan out to be an interesting one, whatever the decision is.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, I think on that front, it's time to move on, I think.
Yep, so this week we've got 2 games, one away and one at home. So we'll start off with Mansfield. So we'll be under the guidance of Glenn Whelan. What's your thoughts on tomorrow's game?
I think first game, I'll take the first game. I think, obviously, on the sidelines every week, Glenn Whelan. I think he's more than capable of getting the job done, maybe. Obviously, I think he will be using a lot of what Maloney used, his vision and his ways of playing. But I think Glenn Whelan might implement his own ways at some point. But I'm saying, prediction-wise, Mansfield 1, Wigan 1. We won't get a win, I think, but we get a draw. I think we'll probably take the lead. I think tomorrow we'll be doing a lot of trial and error tactically. And I think some things might work, some things might not work. But Mansfield will just be able to get back into it. But yeah, I think a draw tomorrow.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if that happens. Because obviously Mansfield are winless in their last 5. Is it 2 draws and 3 losses, if I remember correctly? I want to just double check that one before I go slating clubs. Yeah, it's 2 draws, 3 losses. So they're in slightly worse form than us, but we're not too dissimilar. And the way we perform with teams below us, it wouldn't surprise me if they got the win, but. Obviously, last time we went to their ground, it was Tello Asgard in the FA Cup scoring both of the goals, and obviously we've not got him, so it's certainly going to pan out to be an interesting one. I think there's potential to get some points out on the road because statistically we seem to do better on the road this season, but like you say, Glenn Whelan, managing it all, it's certainly going to be, like you say, trial and error. I mean, I've ambitiously gone for Wigan to win 1-0, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I feel that is very ambitious, but fair enough, mate. Okay, well, up next then we'll go to Cambridge United preview. Now, obviously, by Saturday we might have a new manager. We might still have Whelan, but it's unknown what's happened in that respect.
Yeah.
What's your prediction for the Cambridge game, Curtis? Early prediction, those.
Okay, so looking back, away last season at their place, we lost to them. Away this season, we also lost to them. So, I'm not going into this with a lot of confidence. And, we got the FA Cup win, which proves that, the boys can do it. But I've pulled up the overall head-to-head stats. So, against them, we've won 7, drawn 8, lost 5. Now, at home last season, we won 2-1. I mean, I'd like to think that we'd have home advantage in this fixture, but as me and you both know, we've only had 5 home wins this whole season, which some would say not great. So I'm not going into this game feeling optimistic. I think, personally, at the minute, I'm thinking maybe a 1-1 draw because obviously when we were at the FA Cup, well, not that we were there, but when it happened, it was 1-1 at full time before the extra time came in. So I'm going to go with a draw.
Okay, I'm going to say a defeat. I reckon it's going to be about 1-0 Cambridge. I think the history. I think they are a team that seem to get the better of us time and time again. Although I say that we did beat them obviously at home last season. I think it was 2-0 goals for I think it was Humphrey and Asgard. So it could go our way really, but you never know.
Yeah, it's certainly an unpredictable one with Wigan, but I'd like to be optimistic this week. I'd like to think that Glenn Whelan can hopefully get us a few points, on the road and at home.
Yeah, definitely.
Need a bit of positivity.
Yeah, so any articles, Kurt, you found that are of interest?
Yeah, because, I've just mentioned positivity, and on the subject of that, there was an article this evening about Luke Chambers. It looks like he's getting closer to being back now, which is certainly going to be an interesting one, because it'd be nice to see him play a few more games before, his loan spell's over. Because he's back in training, so...
I think he'll be back to permanent. I can't see him going back to Liverpool. At the end of the day, there's no reason to be able to get played there. I think it'll make sense for Liverpool to just cover losses and give us, and to be honest.
Maybe, but, do you think we're going to have a good enough budget to get him in the summer?
Probably not. I mean, it's either we do go brave and we do spend a bit of money on him, or we do get him on loan again. But I mean, do we really want him on loan again? Not really. So you never know, really.
Yeah, you'd like to have him on a permanent, basically.
I would, but although I say that though, I'm sure that his contract at Liverpool is up this summer. So if it's not renewed, we could certainly pounce him this summer and get him on a free. So you never know.
Well, that would be a big result if his contract is up, and we could potentially do that. But in the summer, it's definitely going to be an interesting one for the club, because they're going to have quite a bit of work to do by the sounds of it.
100%. So I think with that, I think that is it for this week's podcast, guy. Have you anything to add?
No, I think we've summed it up there. A lot's happened this week, and it's unfortunate at the end of the day, but if the board think that's what's best for the club going forward, then we've just got to move on, I suppose. I mean, it is really upsetting, after seeing everything online, but yeah, it's a results business, unfortunately.
Yeah, it sure is. But with that, guys, thank you for watching. Please follow us on all socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at CC Football Vlogs. And until next week's podcast, and until the weekend's vlog, stay safe, and enjoy your week.